welcome to WROL Broadcast, the Burgershack edition. And I have with us the big man himself, the Big Mac Attack, Burger.
What's up?
And, and I forgot to mention this to you before we started, Burger, but I think I'm going to do this monthly now because I find it quite interesting. So I ordered a graphic novel of Hawk and Dove. I actually ordered 2 this month. So we do have an episode coming out maybe next week. I'm trying to wrangle Joker, Zubaz, and maybe Hawkeye together since they're our resident lore buffs. And we might do a contest during that one too. But for this episode, for what should we set it at? 100 likes? Do you think that's a good target?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay, so if we get 100 likes on the YouTube version, so if you're listening to this audio, pop onto YouTube and make a comment, and then we'll select a random winner, and I'll mail you out a Hawk and Dove graphic novel because I just finished reading it a little bit ago, and I don't really know what to do with them afterwards. So we will donate it to whoever wins. So all you gotta do is make a comment, and let's make it to 100 likes, which we usually do anyway. So with that, let's get into it. So for Hawk and Dove, what are just the initial impressions? Let's do a quick rundown on Dove, because before we even get into that, so as you know, we have our Chosen tournament, and surprise, surprise, Chosen is leading the way right now, but hot on his heels. Actually, you guys might even be ahead right now, Burger. You got paired with M4. How's that going?
I think it's great. Like, honestly, like, this has been, I've never been one. Obviously, I would always like to win, but I always go into these things just saying, hey, can I finish top 10? And like this, I mean, I think it adds like a totally new dynamic to it. Because, M4 and we already talk regularly, but, we're talking multiple times a day. And I think it's making probably the most fun aspect of DC Legends even more fun. And more challenging because we're fighting against multiple people, and so it's actually, I'm really enjoying it so far.
Yeah, I have to say I had a really, really bad first day, and then my partner Empowered, who I didn't know really at all. I don't think I've ever talked to him prior to this tournament, and I was actually wanting to get him on an episode this month, and I definitely will try to before the month is over. I actually really like to have everyone on at some point, and but we are fast. Well, we're only halfway through the month, so we still got time. But we both had a really bad start. He was on vacation, and he had a few disconnects on the first day. Well, actually, I think on the first day, and then when he was in the airport trying to run his matches before he got capped flying back from vacation, because he was in tropical islands, and yeah, it's not a conducive environment for Siege. So we got off to a really rough start, but we seem to have found our groove. We're still a good ways behind you guys, but I'm feeling good about how we're climbing. So you're right, it's been super fun. We're talking about matches all day, every day. It definitely makes it a lot more fun. I hope the majority of people, I know there's a few people that wanted to get into it next month, so I think this is definitely a fun new thing to do every month.
Oh yeah, it's great, and like every day I'm watching their points, other teams' points, and trying to figure out like, okay, what do we need to do, and so it's actually, I mean, it's really a good time. So anybody that's listening, you guys should absolutely jump in. Just try to let us know early, so that way we can see where you're ranked, and so hopefully we can do something with that next time.
Yeah, we're gonna do something a little different with the point spreads. We got they got some. It's a fun top. Every single person in tournaments like within that top 15 range, so you can tell everybody's really, really pushing, and it's a fun Siege. And then we got thankfully the Siege World Champion from last month, Ragger, didn't decide to compete too much. He's still going for the top 60, but he did so well last month just running one team all month that this month didn't even fully gear his characters or ring them or even apply legendary points on 3 of the bonus tunes. So that's impressive.
Yeah, well, when you have that much skill, like, it's kind of like where we're pushing each other, trying to, fight for these things. Like, he has so much skill, like, he has to kind of mute himself a little bit just to get the most, just to make it challenging.
Yeah, I saw on Almost Def, who's in our tournament, who's got a super geared roster. He had a full bonus team loss with one of the tunes being gear 10, and None of the legendary points applied, so I mean, I gotta give it to him. That's impressive.
Oh yeah.
So with that, let's get into Dove. We'll kind of briefly talk about her. I know Doombox and Kage did an episode, and Doom thinks she's like triple S tier character. I don't quite see it myself. I think she's really good, and she can solo a team if she really gets going. But I like her a lot. I think she's a very good character, but I'm just never sold on evasion characters.
Yeah, I do. I don't know if she's S tier. I think she's probably a strong A. Um, but I mean, it's been times, and M4 and I talk about her regularly that, I mean, she's a pain in the ass if you let her get going. And you don't, especially like depending on who's surrounding her, like it can make the match pretty interesting pretty quickly. But she's definitely somebody that there's a lot of other tunes that you kind of have to watch out for, and people are like, how do I dodge Black Flash or somebody else? But if you let her kind of get going, it can make for a very interesting match for sure. But I don't know if I would say S tier, just because when I think of like the other physical tunes that are S tier, I wouldn't say she's up there with them.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I mean, if you can get her going, she can dominate a match. When you're facing her, she's scary, but she's not as scary as I thought she'd be. Because the AI isn't smart, which helps. But I mean, I've had matches where, it come down to her and Darkseid's able to outlast her, and I can just keep using his 2 and dooming her, and eventually it sticks and kills her, or I can just whittle her down.
Oh yeah, I actually, one of the matches I sent you, I only sent it to you. I know I was trying to highlight Hawk, but it was actually a highlight of Dove, so it ended up being 4-on-1, and Dove was my last tune standing, and they couldn't take her down. And they kept wiping her turn meter and just could not take her down, so she just kept sitting there counterattacking it, and obviously she wasn't going anywhere. But just kept counterattacking, going and going, and so finally I had to quit the match just because it was taking forever. So she's definitely annoying, and you need to have somebody that can get around the evasions. But yeah.
And I think that's my biggest problem with her. Is her damage is kind of low, and that's where you do stalemate matches a lot. She'll never die, but you can't kill people.
Mm-hmm.
But
for sure.
So let's move on to the main attraction, which his sale will be coming out the day this comes out. His sale comes out tomorrow, right? Tomorrow night? Normally? Yeah,
I think. Yeah, but
is Hawk. I think you're the only other person in the game that has him other than myself. So, there's not a lot of people. Most people look at his kit, aren't excited about him. I didn't like him that much at first. I've really, really warmed up to him in the last week. I was going to RB5 both him, Hawk, and Dove. Then I decided I wasn't going to rebirth either one of them. Now Hawk's maybe worming his way back into my heart. He's not great. He's kind of like, I don't even know if I would classify him as good as Metallo, which most people don't like, who I love. But I think he fully rebirthed. I think he could be, because his damage is okay. It's not great, but on his 2, his damage can be pretty good. I really like the debuff immunity, which is extremely useful, having it on 2 moves. And then that stun at the end of his turn doesn't proc as much as it should, but it still is pretty decent. And it's been useful. I've actually replaced Deathstroke just because I was trying to be annoying to Chosen, who's been running Deathstroke lead. So I've been running Hawk lead, and I replaced Deathstroke with him, and he actually works better for me.
Oh, well, I appreciate you trying to mess with Chosen.
Yeah. Just have my L3 leader. So.
Yeah, I'm having, so this entire time I've been having flashbacks from the Miss Martian month. That was Miss Martian and Adam, right?
Yeah.
And so where the stronger tune was the tune out of the gate rather than the one you have to grind through Siege to earn.
They do that a lot,
and so I'm
too.
having a lot of flashbacks. What happened?
I said they seem to do that a lot, too, which is weird.
Yeah. And so, I think you would see a lot more people fighting a lot harder in Siege if it was Dove was the Siege tune, rather than being the one just out of the gate. But, I'm not a big fan of his. I can see how he can be useful on Dove teams. And I do like the stun on his two, and I agree, like that can do some decent damage, especially if Dove is on the team, because that's one of the gates, right? That if she's on the team, 60% bonus damage. So I've seen him hit pretty hard on that. But yeah, he's to me like it's just another not as bad as Adam, but definitely where the better tune was the tune out of the start of the month.
See, I've been running him entirely without Dove just because I wanted to really give him a decent chance. So I think he's decent. I do think he's a little too heavily gated by Dove. I liked the idea of it when I first saw the kits and thought, oh, this is cool. This is unique. My biggest complaint is that they're the same affinity. So it's hard to run them together.
True.
Which I think that does make it a little more difficult. I think he's one of those characters, he's fine at L3. You really don't need his other abilities. Especially, the Haggard passive, his first passive, is entirely gated by Dove. So, you really, if you don't plan to run Dove with him, you don't need that at all. And 1 empowered strength up isn't that great. The crit immunity's nice, but he's so tanky. That's probably his biggest feature, is that he can take a hit. I've had him get hit by Arcus, not a double tap, but just a single counterattack and not kill him, which most Reds just auto die to that, especially at L3.
There's a lot of blues that do that.
Yeah. Or Donna Troy.
Yeah. So when I look at it, so I would take his 2 first for the stun. Then after that, I would do his 3. It was kind of a toss-up between his 3 and his 5, but I took his 3 next.
Did you mean his 1? His 3 is agility downs. The 1 is the buff immunity.
So I did. So I actually, did, yeah. So I said 2, 3 for the agility downs, and then 5, and then I took his 1. But part of that was looking at like the Dove team. But if I was going to run them with Dove all the time, then yeah, I would do that one much earlier.
Well, the buff 2, 3, immunity 5, isn't required on his 1 for the buff.
I know that. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's kind of how I graded it out.
Yeah, see, I was thinking 2, 1, 5, and then 3, 4 for a legendary order.
Okay.
I guess for raids you do probably want the agility downs. What do you think he's gonna be any decent for raids?
I've been surprised before, so it's possible that he comes out and hits hard, but he just doesn't do like that much damage.
Well, he will be a 5x, and none of his moves buff, which is nice.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if on like a Hippo team or something, he might actually be halfway decent.
Yeah.
And he'll stun all the time passively, which is also nice.
Yeah. But maybe if you have like Atrocitus on there with him and then have Dove too, and he's hitting with his 1 and getting 100% extra damage.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, sorry, that's going to be stun. Yeah. So.
Well, he'll stun after the end of his first turn.
Yeah.
Most of the time. So yeah, he might actually be pretty good. I could definitely see it. Any teams that you think he might excel on, other than obviously with Dove?
So I've run him with Dove a lot. Obviously, I've run him with Darkseid several times. Both of them with Lex. I liked Obviously because Dove is her two really helps get everything going. Um, but yeah, I mean outside of that, like I haven't seen a lot of great things with them. I tried him under Cheetah to try to see if I can get him to hit just a little bit harder. Um, but yeah, haven't seen a lot of success.
I do like him with Darkseid a lot. I think that's one of the best leaders for him, just because that call assist from him casting buff immunity off his basic at the end of the turn is
Yeah.
super useful. And then Dove, it's fantastic because she'll stack up the agilities or the evasions. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
but yeah, you're right. That
That's
it's tough.
probably what I.
It is tough to find teams that work for them. That's why I'm torn on if I'm going to take him up because you know how the rebirth lists go. They're long and difficult.
Yeah.
I don't.
Especially you guys that are five everybody.
Yeah,
For me, it's not that bad. It's not four.
and I even thought about moving to the RB3 train and just RB3 all the characters I really like him. I kind of like him, but I don't like him enough to take him RB5, and it would be so much more budget friendly, and I could do so many more RB3s, but I just can't do it. I don't know what it is. The appeal
You
of
got
RB5.
obsessive compulsive stuff. You just have to keep going.
I didn't think that was me, but I guess it is. the But it's, I mean, there you feel the difference. Like going from RB3 to RB5 on Darkseid, he goes from amazing to just just a destruction machine. I mean, his
Yeah.
AOE, it's just so much fun to watch entire blues and greens and sometimes even reds just explode.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been yeah. So I have obviously Darkseid, huge fan, and Coda, and I have both of them ready to go RB4. But I've been doing this thing where every siege, all I rebirth are siege tunes, and just to have a slight advantage during then. And yeah, I think I need to bite the bullet and just take Darkseid and her RB4, Darkseid and Coda.
They're so ridiculous. Darkseid, I probably use him more than I actually. He's my most used blue now. He's so good. Yeah, he'll carry
Yeah.
teams on his back. I want actually. I plan to do one of these days. I want to do actually soon, because I keep having people wanting to know why I think Darkseid's S tier, and why I think we all unanimously voted him S tier on the tier list. And people are just like, I don't see it. He's not S tier. But I think the biggest thing is people are too hung up on using him as a leader, which I don't. I use him as a leader probably 10% of the time.
Oh dang.
I mean,
I use him all the time.
he's a great leader, but if you, I mean, he's great outside of lead.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree. I think he's S tier. You know, I am curious because I know going into the month you were talking about having a new team comp and one that you were really pushing for. And just in case Prim's listening, so he can hear it and then try to copy it. What were you thinking?
well, originally I thought Hawk and Dove were going to be a lot better. So I was thinking Darkseid, either in lead or out of lead, Hawk and Dove, and then I was going to run, either Donna Troy or for a lot of the time I was running Hal Jordan, Donna Troy, Hawk and Dove. Problem is you don't have enough damage, because I expected Hawk to do high damage because he was slow and kind of with Dove, and his damage just wasn't quite there. So I'm finding it difficult to find a team like that. I really need either and then the other team I've run a lot, and it does work pretty well, is Darkseid, Hawk and Dove, and Impulse, because Impulse pairs pretty well with Dove. So I thought that'd be good. I tested around with Killer Frost and Hawk Girl with Hawk, and it works pretty well, but not quite as well as I was hoping. So it's he's fun and he's kind of neat, but he's just not quite there. I also liked him with Hawk Man, so he could, because they did all the debuffs, so they would increase his stun chance. But he doesn't get enough turns. I mean, he's only going to get maybe 2-3 turns in a match, and then a lot of times it will just apply to whoever the taunter is, or it will stack the person you just stunned. Every now and again you get that perfect match where you stun somebody with, like in Siege I'll have it a lot, where I'll stun somebody with Superboy, then I'll stun him with Hawk, and then he stuns the other person I didn't stun, which is great. But it doesn't happen consistently enough because you don't know who it's going to hit.
Yeah. I have been, so I've used Impulse several times this siege, probably 10 times, and I bet 9 of those times he stunned on his 75% chance.
Oh,
So I've been
good.
having really good luck with Impulse this siege.
When I run him in Wraith, he stuns all the time. In Siege, I've not had as much luck, but I have run him a couple times this Siege. I've really I liked Impulse a lot at the beginning, but not as much as I thought I would. And then since his sales are gone and I can't RB5 him, he's probably become one of my top used characters, and he's absolutely going RB5 next sale no matter what.
Oh, dang.
So I'm 100% sold on him. I mean, 2 turns, even though it doesn't always happen, because it's a 2-turn stun, that makes it so useful. Especially when you're facing somebody like Azrael or Black Flash. You stun him and then you don't have to worry about him for a good while.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've had his one actually hit pretty hard on, like, I had him, like, his one, like, almost take out M4 Shiva in one of the Siege matches. So
Wow.
it's yeah, but mine's RB1, right? But he's definitely been surprising me a little bit this Siege.
Yeah, I took mine RB3 a while ago because how many shards I had from before. And I mean, you see the difference because when he does that triple hit, and then I like him, what really sold me on him is I was using him on the Darkseid, and he'll do 6 hits in a row. And that's a ton of damage. Especially if he crits, on a good chunk of them. And thankfully, we're starting to get a little bit more rebirth crystals, which that was the next thing I was going to ask you about. I'm actually surprised I didn't see much chatter about it, but it looks like they added 2 nodes to the Nightmare event. Maybe they're adding some additional prizes, which would be awesome. And then they said they were going to ramp up difficulty, which I'm very excited to see.
Oh, yeah. I think I love the fact that WB's doing this. Again, like it's, PvE, is so mindless generally. Like you're just sitting there, just grinding and like not even paying attention. It's just tapping all day. And so I like this. Now, there's still a little mindless aspect to it. Like, I mean, you can, especially with some of the tunes that, for last month, for example, like it really wasn't overly difficult, but I'm glad to hear that they're making it a little bit more challenging and it's something new. And plus, I mean, those rebirth crystals, I mean, those are great. So anytime they can give them to us, definitely keep them coming.
Yeah, I'm really happy they listened to feedback. That was one of the things a lot of us, posted to Reeves afterwards and said, hey, we really liked it, but you need to make it so that, people, A, want to gear up their characters, and B, need to gear up their characters to complete it. So, and, maybe leave the first couple nodes how it was, but those additional 2 nodes that they added, make those crazy hard, and that would be fun.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, anything else you got, or we'll wrap this one up?
I love the tournaments everybody has going on. I would encourage anybody else to jump on. I personally would love it if we had a bunch of people next tournament, and so that way we could have like teams of 3, because I think it'd be even more fun sitting there and talking to multiple people and stuff and getting those teams going. But obviously I know you guys are all doing hard work, like getting the messaging out there and tracking everything. And
3 people would be fun. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just kept thinking about it in pairs. 3 would be really good, because then you got a lot more room for error, but then also if you have one person just have a bad day, it's not going to completely derail your month necessarily.
Yeah.
So, that could be.
The only thing that stinks is when I refresh and I see M4s on there, then I'm like, damn it. Now I have to fight his team, which is already a pain usually. But, then I have to, I'm taking points away from him at the same time. So
And he's got that stupid Shiva crutch.
Yeah, it's crazy.
She's so annoying.
That RB5. Yeah, you have to go in there and prepare for it. So That's where I've been using Impulse a lot, is against all the Shiva teams.
Yeah,
So
he's a good addition because you can't trust Black Flash. It seems like everybody still has Black Flash on their teams. So
yeah. And then the only other thing that I would say is, our raid performance last time. So it was great seeing everybody else challenge and jump up and all those negative numbers. I wasn't able to get on the Owl cast at the end where everybody was jumping on and celebrating, but just badass job from the team. Everybody kicked ass, and it was great. Even when we knew that we kind of had it locked down, everybody came together and was like, hey, we're going to keep grinding, keep pushing, keep spending gems, keep getting more, going out there and doing more pushes. It was so awesome to be a part of it. And just shout out to all the guys. It's such a badass group. I enjoy it all the time when you see the messages going back and forth, and it's really so much fun. So just shout out to all of them.
well, we are planning on doing that as a monthly chat thing on the final day of siege or raids. Have everybody hop into the Discord chat and just record it and make it an episode. We thought that'd be fun.
Oh yeah,
So maybe
it's great.
have some of the crazy characters on there because we have some special people. So
I think you undersold it right there
yeah,
with crazy characters.
yeah, exactly. So we call it the Court of Issues for a reason. And then also, speaking of tournaments, the Tournament of Legends. I believe Joshua Wars said he's going to try to do it. I'm trying to convince him for Sunday because that tends to be a better day for sporting events. But he said maybe Saturday. But most likely Sunday. He's going to air. They're going to do like esports style where it's the last two. It's Chosen versus Firewings. So that will be. I hope it's Firewings. But I'm pretty sure it's Firewings. But anyway, so that should be really cool. Watching those two go head to head. Really good competition they got going there. M4 lost to Chosen on the day.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, just by a little bit. Really interesting, unique tournament. And, yep, it's Firewings. Okay. I was pretty certain, but had to double check. So Firewings beat Merciless in the bracket. And then Chosen beat M4 in their bracket, so they're the final bracket. Firewings has gone 218 matches without losing. Or wait, I don't know. It's based on points, but he's 218 to 22. So it means he's lost a tune 22 times. I'm pretty sure. These rules are a little confusing. And then Chosen is 234 to 6. He's lost a tune 6 times in a ton of matches.
Damn. Interesting.
Yeah. M4 lost by 4 tune losses.
Yeah, Chosen's been wrecking shop. It's always good watching his stuff. He does a really good job putting teams together.
I reluctantly admit that Chosen and M4 are probably the two best players in the game, with Sheriff Lobo right up there with them.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to just say anything like being the top one when Sheriff Lobo is like wrecking shop on sieges all the time. So
Exactly.
yeah, he definitely messed me up there.
But Chosen also gets a little bit of extra credit just because these tunes are barely geared. So
yeah. Well, yeah. When Darkseid first came out and I was watching the match versus his, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna run it over with RB2 Darkseid, and next thing you know, like he's pulling it out with 70s and L4. Just like, yeah, it just makes my heart break for my credit card every time I see that stuff.
Yeah, that's what Joshua Ars always says. Rebirth is a scam.
Yeah.
And it pretty much is. All right. Well, I will. Don't forget to make a comment in the YouTube section for your chance to win the. We'll do a random drawing of some kind, and don't worry, I promise it will not be rigged. I'll do just a thing where I scroll through the screen. Maybe I'll even record it, and whatever it lands on. Something along those lines. And then we'll get that mailed out to you. And with that, thanks for listening, everyone. Burger, always a pleasure. We'll try to get this out a little earlier next month.
Yes, sir.
And,
yeah, sorry, my schedule's been nuts.
And mine hasn't been a whole lot better, so this was a difficult to get together month. And with that, we are signing off. Thank you.
Hi, this is Renee Sylvia 88, DC Legends moderator. Thank you for listening to this episode of WROL Broadcast. If you like this show, please check out patreon.com/WROL Broadcast and find out how to get cool perks. We all know what happens if loot gets quarantined. It's raining gems, baby!